And away we go. It is the Aftermath, brought to you by Mio's Pizza right here on BearcatJournal.com. We are live in the Cincy Light studios. You know where you can get Cincy Light? Mio's Pizza, right on Short Vine in Clifton. Great spot before games, after games, you name it. If you're up around campus, go visit our friends at Mio's. Get yourself a thin crust pizza, a deep dish pizza, great appetizers. Love their steak hoagies and much, much more. Great drink specials regularly and just an all-around good time. So go see our friends at Mio's in Clifton. They will get you taken care of. All right, Aaron, let's get this show on the road. Cincinnati takes down Northern Kentucky 76-60. It was a little closer for comfort than most probably would have liked, but ultimately, the Bearcats get the job done behind another just insane shooting performance from Seos Lucas. We are getting pretty used to those through 4 games. I know it's only 4 games, but it feels like if it comes out of his hand, it's going in. And he shot 67% today, and his 3-point percentage went down on the season.
Right, that's crazy.
That's for 9.
Absolutely crazy. He shot one from the logo. It felt like. I mean,
that was a heat check.
That was the Jeremiah Davenport special. Except this one went in. But
yeah, it was a good one. Give us your thoughts real quick, Aaron.
I thought the first half was. I didn't like the first half at all. You only end up 4 by playing a not great game, but you're still up 4. I don't know. I mean, they certainly turned it on in the second half. They still lost the rebound. They were down at the half in the rebound battle, 16-11, I believe it was. And then around 30% from the field, 4 of 13 from 3. And then you turn it on in the second half to improve the 3-point percentage, and your field goal percentage, your 3-point percentage. The rebounding got certainly closer as you finish up 27-36. But you finish 50% from 3 and 53% from the floor. I thought they, for the most part, they passed well, except for the ones that they just randomly would sail out of bounds. That happened a handful of times, it felt like.
Well, and then Dylan had this idea that you can throw cross-court passes against the 25 matchup zone, which that's what they want you to do. They want you to panic and try to throw a cross-court pass because there's always a guy there waiting for it. And he found that out the hard way a couple times tonight.
He only had 2 turnovers, though, and he still had 4 steals, so he more than made up for it. He certainly made up for it defensively.
I'm not saying he played bad. I'm saying he learned the lesson of that zone is if you try to throw cross-court passes, they are going to steal them.
I did see 1 or 2 shitty lobs start to sneak their way back into the game, but they more than made up for it with the ones that they were able to throw down. The Aziz dunk, where he got to fully extend his arms and body, and if he was heavier, he may have brought the rim down, but instead he's Aziz, and but Dylan had a couple alley-oops that there was nobody around. He just backdoored them, and Cincinnati ends up in the second half pulling away, and as you alluded to, the score is probably not indicative of how close it was.
I mean, I think the score is probably fairly indicative of the way that the game played out. I mean, look.
Yeah, they pulled away at the end.
Well, I mean, some of it is pretty simple, Aaron. They dared NKU into taking tough, contested shots over the top of the defense from the mid-range, which is where you want teams to shoot. Like, especially if you're making them take contested 2s over the top of your defense. And for the first 25 minutes, NKU hit a lot of them. And sometimes, I mean, if you, for the most part, there are a couple open ones where it felt like, Vincent a couple times got into that, like, that spot it's really not mid-range anymore. Then you're nearing the rim where he's like 8 to 10 feet, pulls up and kind of hits a little, an easy little 8 to 10 foot shot. That's not the same as forcing a guy to take a 17 footer with a hand in his face. But I thought NKU did a good job. They played with great energy, and they definitely challenged Cincinnati's defense. And then I thought they hit some tough shots, and sometimes that just breeds confidence where, okay, like we're feeling it. But if you continue to make them take those shots, they're eventually going to miss because that's not a great offensive team. And that's why you saw their shooting percentage go from, 55% or whatever it was early in the second half. By the end of the game, that bad boy was all the way down to 42% because I think they don't do stat broadcast at NKU. So
They don't.
I don't have the full stats with me, and I didn't bother going to their stat page because of awful, just dreadful trying to follow stats for the game on the thing in the service NKU uses. That's goodness.
How I felt about the entire broadcast, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
It was just what you come to expect out of NKU.
Yeah.
Almost a professional broadcast, but not quite.
Not quite. But I think they stayed with it. Like I thought they didn't panic, because NKU was hitting some shots. I didn't think UC kind of like 2 years ago, whatever it was. It felt like UC panicked. Like NKU started hitting a couple shots. UC started trying to force things, and then things kind of snowballed, and they ended up losing that game at NKU and kind of sending the season into a little bit of a spiral at that point. But they stuck with it. They continued making NKU take those tough contested twos. NKU eventually cooled off. Cincinnati started to do at least a little bit better job on the glass. It's amazing watching this team, how different they are rebounding the ball without Dan Skillings on the floor. Like, you start to realize how much they were relying on him to, if he didn't get it, he was keeping it alive or tipping it around or whatever the case may be. They've got to get some stuff figured out on the glass because they're struggling there right now, and they have enough guys to be better. But I thought they took NKU's best shot, like the absolute best shot NKU had. And then when they your legs get tired, like you come out and you're swinging. And then about round 3, you're like, and that NKU looked a little punch drunk. They didn't have any swinging left in the arsenal. And, they'll take, and Wes said this post game. I know you were doing the show with George, so you didn't get a chance to see any
Haven't heard anything yet.
He said post game, like, we're going to get a lot out of this because you're on the road. You're playing a team that played really well.
Yeah.
You had to kind of keep your guard up. And the craziest thing about this, Aaron, when I looked at the stat sheet in the post game press conference, NKU never led. Cincinnati led.
Yeah.
Cincinnati led for 38 minutes, and NKU never had a lead.
Yeah, the broadcast mentioned that there had been 3 ties. At some point in the second half, they mentioned there were 3 ties.
Changes. Yeah.
But, yeah.
So,
good to see Day back. He played 14 minutes. They got to ease him back in. They didn't feel like they had to overextend anything with him. He played 14 to Jizzle James 26, and got to see Jizzle or Day doing some Day things.
Yeah, you could tell he was a little rusty. You could tell he was kind of trying to. I mean, it was great. Like, he came out, dished an assist for a dunk and then got a layup right away, and it was like, ooh, okay, Day-Day's back. And then you could tell he kind of was getting his legs under him, got caught up. He wasn't. I didn't think he was moving the ball as well as it needed to be moved against NKU's
Agreed.
defense in the first half. In the second half, it got a lot better. Like you could tell he was kind of getting back in the flow of things. So yeah, it was good to see him out there. We didn't have to see any of those weird like fours playing the twos playing like weird lineups that we saw against Nichols on Friday night. But yeah, I mean that kind of gives you back that like the luxury of having like a rotation of those guys between the 1 and the 2.
Yeah, you end up with 10 assists between Jizzle and Day-Day. Unfortunately, you also end up with five turnovers between the two of them. 3 of those coming from Day-Day. But all in all, I'm not going to say I think that point guard was elite today, but just happy to have both guys playing. And my saying that they weren't elite was, again, just Jizzle had a couple where he just, I don't know where he was throwing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is that defense can make you kind of see some ghosts.
Okay.
And that's the whole point of it is, they want you to think it's a zone, but it's man, and then you get kind of start to play it like man, and then guys are in zones, and that's the whole point of it is to kind of throw you off. But they made some bad decisions turnover wise that they're going to have to sit down on tape and have a discussion about. But that won't be as nearly as long a discussion as get on the damn glass and rebound, because I mean NKU played with great energy, and I told everybody that was going to happen after how bad they were against Nichols Thursday. Like, yeah, Darren Horn was going to have their attention because they stunk against Nichols on Thursday, and they needed to answer the bell because that was not good for them. I mean, like I said, he went on the radio. You don't hear a coach destroy his team really the way Darren Horton destroyed his team last Thursday. Said a bunch of guys weren't playable, couldn't put them on the court. I mean, yeah, like, okay, coach is pissed. And he's a good coach. So he was going to get the most out of his guys tonight, and he did. They played really well.
Interesting note that the rotations shortened. You ended up with essentially 9 guys getting the bulk of the minutes. We did not see Rayvon Griffith. You saw CJ Frederick for a whopping 2 minutes logged. Who else were we missing tonight?
Zella didn't play.
Yeah, Zella didn't see any minutes. Is that the only other one?
Yeah, I think so. I think but yeah, the Seos was. I think that's the first time we've seen anybody up around 40 or 30. Excuse me. Seos played 30.
Dylan.
Seos played 31. Dylan played 30. 26 for Jizzle. 27 for Connor. 25 for Aziz. And guess what? That's what happens when it's 41-40 in the second half.
Sure.
Your guys tend to your main guys tend to stay on the floor a little bit more, which I think, given what you've got coming up with Georgia Tech and Villanova and Xavier and Dayton kind of getting closer, I think it's okay to have a game where, all right, guys, we're gonna have to stretch you out to that 27, 28, 30-minute range.
Sure. You had 4 guys in double digits, though. Seos, of course, leading the way with 18, his 6 of 9, all threes, leading the way. Then Dylan Mitchell with 12, Jizzle James with 11, and Conor Hickman gets his first double-digit game with 10.
Yeah, hit a couple important threes, I thought, for Connor. Had a really nice layup to open up the scoring, kind of got in the teeth of the zone, and it wasn't a finger roll per se, but a little flip at the rim. Yeah. I thought Page's numbers were better than it felt like watching live. 8 points, 4 rebounds, a block. only 15 minutes. So I thought he gave you some good minutes. Tyler Betsy hits a couple threes, finishes with 7 points. He had 4 rebounds as well. Didn't really get anything offensively from Josh, but he only played 12 minutes. And like you said, CJ Frederick only with 2 minutes for the Bearcats.
I guess if we're going to talk about individual players, start with Seos. He was just unconscious tonight
In the second half.
Yeah. He's shooting it so well. He's making great passes at this point, you have to respect the pump fake. You have to respect him in and around the arc. If he's within a step of the arc and he gets the ball in his hands, watch out. And now he's getting to toy with people where he can make his little
behind the back pass,
his little drive move, where he can, because we've seen him finish it with some acrobatic shots already this season as well.
Yeah.
So he's getting to do essentially whatever the hell he wants, and the game has to feel so slow to him right now.
I was talking to somebody on the way out of the arena, and like he's one of those dudes that like it's just a great college player. Like his game just suits the college game. So, he can, his body, like his physicality, the way he's able to kind of bully guys around, the way he can play off of his 3-point shot to get downhill, the way he can pass, just an outstanding offensive college basketball player. 10th in the country in 3-point percentage right now, which is, it feels crazy that there's 9 guys shooting better than him, because it feels like he's a heavy volume guy that is making everything he shoots.
Yeah, it's bananas. I can't imagine what his confidence level is at right now when he's able to even step back 12 feet behind the arc. And it wasn't.
And then the one after,
perfect.
Go ahead. Yeah, and then the one after that, the guy was kind of right on him, and he let his hands down for a second, and Seos was like, bang, hand down, man down. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm gonna light you up.
It's fun to watch, and I know that at times I've not always been the highest on Seos Lucas, but man, he's been a lot of fun already this season.
Just a great college basketball player. Like, the thing is, we will be talking about him for a long time.
Sure.
Because he just has kind of it when in terms of like impacting a game, being able to do so many different things offensively that keep things on track, keep things on schedule. And I thought he was big. A couple of times it felt like they were getting bogged down against the zone where they weren't really moving. And if you stand still against that thing, you're toast, because they'll just reset and kind of choke you out, which is what we saw a couple of years ago, where they just kind of stood still, passed it around, and they were just throwing threes at the rim that had no chance of going in at the end of the shot clock. And instead, he kind of keeps it moving and keeps defenses unable to just, sit and wait. But but they're attacking the rim in the second half. They were much better than they were in the first half. I will give you that, Mark, because it felt like in the first half they were scoring, they were efficient, but they were kind of flat. They were kind of stale. And then they did a good job getting it active. Is that for Seos? 94.6 efficient or effective field goal rating percentage, or effective field goal percentage, leads the country. It's the most efficient scorer in the country right now. And I would look at that number and go, yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Who you want to talk about next?
We can get to Dylan, who I didn't think had a great night at times. I thought he was he wasn't as aggressive on the glass as we have seen him. I thought he was kind of floating a little bit on the defensive glass. And he got abused by Robinson because of it. And I thought Robinson like brought a lot more energy than Dylan did through that Trey Robinson through that portion into the first half, into the end of the first half, into the second half, where it felt like, okay, NKU's not going away. Like, okay, they're going to be a pest for 40 minutes here. And I think some of that was just Dylan the effort wasn't as dialed up as we've seen in the previous games.
That's because he's looking ahead at Thursday and wondering what the hell he's going to do when it snows in Ohio. But he had 6 rebounds. I already mentioned the 4 steals. I don't know. I guess again, when he's not able to do some things in the game, it seems that he's finding other ways to continue to contribute. Sure. So if he's not able to defend Robinson as well as he might like, he's still 4 steals is a hell of a night.
Yeah,
as far as steals are concerned.
It's not that I thought he played bad. Like I don't want it to sound like we're like attacking him for having a terrible game. He's just already set such a lofty standard for what his energy and effort looks like that when you have a night like tonight where he was on like a 7 instead of 12. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
That's, but he's got kind of that Justin Jackson, like you can tell when it's not cranked all the way up.
I thought it, and I wonder if he hits that 3 early on in the game when he's all by himself in the corner.
Yeah, maybe.
If you see that energy, it would have been his first college 3. I'm still waiting for him to hit one, which is funny because I'm not the 3 guy on this show. But he had some dunks. He did have some dunks tonight. Couple alley-oops. He's still so much fun to watch.
It's got to be really hard on a defense when you've got him and Aziz in there, because both of them, like, yeah, they can just if you hesitate and they're coming baseline backdoor or on the lob and roll, and I asked him about it in the post game. Like I asked Seos about this in the post game. Teams can't just sit on, we think they're going to throw the lob to Aziz. Because if you do that, then you slide Dylan backdoor and a team gets, a dunk on the other side because they're overplaying that roll and lob to Aziz. So, he was efficient, but he was just a little bit off, which I think impacted, especially without Dan, impacted the rebounding in the first half quite a bit. But overall, he had a good game. Aziz, 25 minutes, had that nice little step through move.
Yeah,
where he like almost like, oh, Aziz got offense now. He's got some game.
Well, I was gonna say, I thought they ran the ball through him, especially in the first half. I know you talked about the first half being a little stale. I wonder how much of that had to do with the fact that they ran an awful lot of offense through Aziz, where he was playing I don't want to call it necessarily ISO ball, but he was running some ISO stuff until he would kick it out. But he was playing a little bit with his back to the basket, trying to back down guys. But I feel like they were just trying to give him a little bit more than just, hey, stand under the rim and we'll just lob it to you.
Yeah, I mean, you want the ball kind of in the middle of the floor against that zone. And I think, that's a spot where Dan really excels. And Dan would have been really good, like in that high post, maybe not at the free throw line, but some of that stuff where you're getting him to flash, get the ball in the high post, and then you can work a lot off of that because the zone starts to collapse down and you can either kick out or you can get it into the dunk spot. So with them missing that, I did like that, they kind of ran some of it through Aziz, and I did think it started to open some things up a little bit offensively because the defense would collapse and kind of surround him, which is what that thing is designed to do.
I'm curious if that's going to be a point of emphasis going forward, or if that was just something that they decided to work in against this particular defense.
I would guess it's probably at least a little bit specific to this defense, but he handled it pretty well. So
I agree.
You know, when teams are playing man to man, maybe you can throw it to him a little bit down there, more than they have.
And he continues to be dominant, blocking shots, 3 blocks tonight, a steal. He did have rebounds in his time. It was that extra 5 minutes, right? It had to be the extra 5 minutes that gave him the rebounds.
Yeah, that was definitely it. Or the ball just came his way a little bit more frequently tonight.
Or Dylan Mitchell just didn't have the energy, so Aziz could get the rebounds.
Right. Dom, I think some of that was that energy we were talking about from Dylan. Like, they had 6 blocks, but they weren't recovering backside, and NKU would just grab it off the backboard and lay it in.
Yeah. Which
is frustrating because you get what you want, and still end up giving up the second chance point. What did they have?
While you're looking that up, Aziz also made 2 free throws of his 2 and made 2 of the 3 that Cincinnati made on the night out of their 6 taken.
It doesn't show second chance points. That's crap. Because they had 15 offensive rebounds. Not great, Bob. They're going to be, I would expect a much hungrier rebounding team on Saturday against Georgia Tech, because I got the feeling, Aaron, they're going to spend a lot of the rest of this week talking about rebounding.
Well, this is the second game in a row where you've had to talk about rebounding. So, yeah, I would imagine.
No, they were fine against Nichols. It was Morehead State that they were even.
Okay.
It was 30-30 against Morehead State, and Morehead.
I feel like Coach still.
It was
sure statistically they were fine, but I think
they gave up too many offensive rebounds against Nichols. But
I know it. I was going to say, I know it in the presser, Coach brought up rebounding. So yeah,
offensive, yeah. And that is right now, defensive rebounding is concerning, because I mean, I think they have the last 3 games, the opponent's been in double-digit offensive rebounds. That ain't gonna cut it when you get into the Big 12. You will get murdered on the glass if teams are just living on second chance points.
Jizzle James, 26 minutes, 5 of 12 from the field, 1 for 2 on his 3-point attempts, 1 offensive, 1 defensive rebound, 6 assists, 3 steals, a block, 2 turnovers, 3 fouls. The team had 10. He had 3. The only player with 3. I'm not concerned with that at all, but noteworthy, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, look,
11 points.
Those refs were letting them play, Aaron. There was only 20 fouls in the whole game. 10 fouls on UC, 10 fouls on NKU. They were not whistle happy. We were done with the players' press conference by 9:00. I think we were done with Wes at 9:15, which is just unheard of.
Crazy talk.
For that's.
I didn't think George and I would be starting the show at 9, and we got to run our pre-show, hang out. I got to go upstairs and pee real quick, and then we got going, and we started at 9. So yeah, no, I get it.
What did it end? Did it end at like 8:40? Like before 8:50? I thought it ended.
I think it was 8:48 when I logged onto the computer.
Yeah, that's crazy for a Division I basketball game. That just does not happen. More of that. The refs just did not blow their whistles. More of that. Let them play. But I didn't think it was egregious. I thought both teams played fairly clean. There was not a lot of fouling.
Well, like I said, Jizzle leads the team with 3. I thought it was interesting. He took the most shots. I think we'll see more of this, as he is the guy with the ball in his hands to start things off more often than not. And truthfully, I don't even think he was shooting first.
No,
often. I think it was just the fact that
was there.
He's open. He was open a lot, and I thought I was surprised he didn't take more threes.
I think we need to unplug his mid-range jumper and plug it back in. It has not been as deadly through the first 4 games as we saw a year ago. Yeah, unplug it, plug it back, maybe take it out, blow on it, plug it back in, just to reset that mid-range game because it hasn't been as deadly as we saw from him a year ago. But I thought he played pretty well.
Nothing
I do like
jarring
that,
or
like,
anything.
I do like that he kind of has a sense for like, okay, when he's hot, he looks for it more. When he's not, he kind of, I don't want to say defers because I don't think that's the right answer, but I think he does a good job drawing the defense to him. And then instead of forcing it,
He finds the better
getting the ball
shot.
moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing a much better job of that than he did a year
That was
ago.
something. That was something the broadcast mentioned is they were fascinated with how often Cincinnati would continue to pass the ball off to somebody to find the better shot. Like, oh, nope, that one's not there. Kick it out, and then somebody gets a better shot. And we're not.
I thought in the first half they might have done it too much. I think there was a couple threes. Seos passed up. I thought there was a 3 that CJ Frederick passed up.
Too unselfish.
Yeah, well, don't want to go that far, but like, sometimes the open shot is the open shot. Like, if you're moving it, if you're open and you're moving it to a guy that's more open, that's good. If you're moving it to a guy that's less open, you should take the shot.
Well, coach has said that in his post game specifically about Seos already this season. Yeah. So it's not a surprise that that's something that they continue to have to work through.
You know what I love, though, and I'm sure we'll get to him here in a minute. Tyler Betsy had one where he caught it and his feet weren't set. Like he wasn't in his normal shooting motion. So he caught it instead of forcing it because he was open, but he wasn't like in shooting rhythm. He passed it, I think, to Hickman and then relocated, and Hickman got it right back to him where he was able to step into it and hit the 3. I got a proposition for him.
For Betsy or Hickman?
Betsy.
Okay.
I think he should he's so good at like that 1-2 catch in rhythm. I think on his free throws, like when the ref passes it to him, he should like step into the shot. The catch and shoot on free throws. He looks uncomfortable at the free throw line a little bit.
Chad, that is a Bearcat tradition like any other.
He can shoot. Usually the guys that can shoot can make the free throws. He looks a little uncomfortable at the free throw line for a guy that's as high level of a shooter as he is.
He's just trying to fit into Clifton.
I think he needs to step into his shot. I think that's when he's a great shooter. So I think on free throws, I think he should have the ref pass it to him as he steps into the shot and knocks it down. Because he shoots flat-footed, right? He doesn't shoot a jump shot.
Yeah,
he kind of stays low. He doesn't really get off the ground. So if he just takes that little 1-2 step, catches it from the ref, I think his free throw percentage will go up.
As we mentioned earlier, Conor Hickman gets his first double-digit game. 27 minutes, 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 steals, 10 points.
Had a good game. I mean, it wasn't dominant by any stretch, but it was good to see him get a couple threes go down. I thought that was something that he needed to see. But I thought he played pretty well. I thought he was active on defense. I thought he was at the root of a couple of the turnovers with his ball pressure and then forced kind of a pass to a guy that was even maybe a little bit more covered. And then they were able to step in front or knock it away and then get a steal. So I liked what I saw from Conor tonight.
I'm glad he found his shot because I was nervous for the kid when it wasn't falling. He even had an air ball, and I'm like, oh, what's going on with this? Is this ever going to translate? When is this going to happen? I'm starting to get just a little antsy about it, and then the shot starts falling. So I think he needed this. I'm glad he was able to shoot through past the air ball and all of that. It didn't get in his head or anything like that, and I think that's the maturity you see out of a senior. So
yeah, look, shooters know that good shooters know eventually the ball is going to drop. So they tend not to get gun shy with it because they have that confidence that I'm going to put this thing. It's going to start going down sooner than later. So I'm not going to get I'm not going to get in my head and start thinking I can't shoot, which is what guys that shoot that's why guys that shoot 32% shoot 32% is because they don't have that irrational confidence that I'm a good shooter. I'm going to make shots eventually.
Sure. Moving on to the bench. Arnson Page continues to impress. 4 of 6 from the field, 4 rebounds, 8 points. Just a pretty normal day at the office for the young man.
I thought he had some defensive possessions that left a little
to
be
be
desired. He had a block, but I think he got bodied a couple times where the physicality kind of impacted him. The guy was able to get a shot up over him that probably should have been a little bit more contested. But his progress is he's continuing to develop, which is, that's Wes talked about with him and Betsy. Like the more minutes we can get them in November and December, the faster they're gonna, get up to speed and get them to where they need to be.
Well, both Paige and Betsy had 2 of the offensive rebounds. They each had 1 of the offensive rebounds of the 6 that Cincinnati had, but Betsy finishes 2 of 4 from the field, both threes. 1 of 4 from the free throw line, as you mentioned, him being not great from the line today. Betsy ends up with 4 rebounds in total and 7 points.
Thanks, Top G. Appreciate you, man. We're what you listen to at work, at night, during the season. All is well. At least for me. I don't know about Aaron. Aaron, it's always 50-50. I never know what them damn kids are going to do during the day.
It's day to day.
Some days he's in a good mood. Some days he's like, these kids, I can't.
I need this show as much as anybody.
This is the extent of Aaron talking to adults, like 22 hours a day.
That's not far from accurate.
You got what, a 2-year-old, a baby, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, whatever she is now.
14, 9, 2, and 5 months.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Dealing with you guys is enough for me.
Yeah.
Well, Kelsey's like 3 kids herself, but
that's your fault, sir. Day we already talked about him coming back. I don't know that we need to revisit that. And then Josh, 12 minutes, 0 for 1 from the field, nothing going on offensively, a defensive rebound, an assist.
I didn't see him get beat defensively really at all. So that means he was doing what he was supposed to do. He was doing his job. That's what he's out there for. Give you 10, 12 minutes a night of good defense, and on occasion he'll bang in a 3 or 2 for you if you get him open.
Do you think that Ray not playing is because the score was as close as it was?
Yeah, they didn't get as deep into the bench as they probably wanted to, and I think it's hard just to throw him in with like 4 minutes. Like, once things kind of started to stretch out, I think it's difficult to just throw him in for anything more than the victory cigar at that point. You think it's weird we haven't seen CJ Anthony at all this year? There have been some blowouts and we haven't seen CJ. It's weird.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
I don't think tonight was one of them, but like
no. Even if you just put him in for like a minute, the game you hit 100, hit 100, toss him out there for a minute or 2. I don't know.
It's weird.
I think you're right.
I wanted to see.
while you're looking that up next, Cincinnati has Georgia Tech on Saturday. That game tips off at 2:00. That'll be broadcast on the ACC Extra Channel or ESPN Plus, as always.
I think Keegs is gonna. I'm paying for him to go to Georgia Tech to cover this game. So I think I'm gonna have him do the aftermath for that, since he will be there and will be able to give us a little bit more insight.
Don't hate that.
I figured you wouldn't be upset about it. And then
beats having to do 2 shows in a day.
I have to do 2 shows in a day.
Well, I'm doing 3 today, so
Are we no, we don't. I don't know. We'll talk about that when we get done.
We're going to talk about talking.
Yeah, we're going to talk about talking.
All right.
We might do a double show tomorrow that just combines Big 12 Week 13 and talking.
Just
there wasn't a whole lot said.
Just kick everything.
Actually,
just kick everything down a day. Do talking tomorrow, and
Thursday they're going to have a press conference with Wes. I've got radio. I'm in for Mo Thursday and Friday, so we can just do talking on Thursday.
I think everybody's heard enough about football this week anyway at this point. So
yeah. I don't think we need to do 3 shows tonight. I think we're good. I think it's okay.
Listen, I can go either way on it tonight. So.
I had completely forgotten that we needed to do a talking tonight. So yeah, we'll figure something out.
All right.
Whatever. You get the point. I don't have anything else. Do you?
I've been doing this for almost 2 hours straight between you and George. So yeah, I'm good. I think I've said all that can be said.
Yeah. Bearcats win. It wasn't always pretty, but it was a 16-point victory on the road, and those are always a good thing. That's going to wrap it up. We'll see you tomorrow night for the BCJ pod, and then Aaron and I will do something afterwards. Who knows what? We'll make it up as we go. That's going to bring it to a close. It is the Aftermath, presented by Seos Pizza, live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!